Stop All the Clocks, Cut Off the Telephone is a poem by W.H. Aud. This is a short, poignant, and evocative poem that delves deeply into the human experience of grief, loss, and mourning. This poem is divided into 4 stanzas. The first 2 stanzas focus on the mourning of a loss of a close friend. The entire poem revolves around the theme of lamentation and mourning. The speaker is mourning the loss of a loved one. It begins with a call to stop all the clocks, silence the telephone, and prevent the barking of the dogs. The speaker's grief is so profound that he wants the world to come to a standstill to honor and acknowledge the loss of his loved one. This overwhelming grief is a central aspect of the poem. The poem opens with commanding verbs like stop, cut off, prevent, and silence. These imperatives convey a sense of urgency and desperation, reflecting the speaker's intense grief and his desire to freeze time and prevent any distractions. Clocks. The speaker's command to stop all the clocks reflects their desperate desire to suspend time, as if the world should come to a standstill in recognition of the significant loss that he is experiencing. Telephone. Telephone is a representative of modern life. The telephone represents a connection to the outside world, including social and interpersonal distractions. By commanding to cut off the telephone, the speaker wants to isolate all the people from these distractions and join with his mourning. Aeroplane. Sky, doves, and traffic policemen. The references to the aeroplane, sky, doves, and traffic policemen serve as symbolic representations of the public domain and the stark differentiation between the speaker's intimate grief and the external world. The speaker wants news of the death to be spread across the sky and witnessed by everyone on Earth, emphasizing that this loss is not merely an individual experience, but something with far-reaching consequences. North, south, east, west. By saying he was my north, my south, my east, and west, the speaker is suggesting that the deceased was his entire world. The love they felt was not limited to a specific direction or aspect of life. It enveloped them from every angle. It's a way of expressing the idea that this love was all-encompassing and all-consuming. The line also emphasizes the depth of the personal connection between the speaker and the deceased. By using these cardinal directions, the speaker conveys that their relationship was not just a casual or superficial one. It was a profound, fundamental, and essential part of their life. The deceased was not just a part of their world. They were the entire world for the speaker. Public versus private mourning. The poem touches on the idea of public versus private mourning. The speaker's desire for a grand, public display of grief with elements like airplanes and traffic policemen highlights the idea that grief is not just a personal experience, but something that can affect the broader world. Finality of death. The poem conveys a strong sense of the finality of death. It suggests that death is an irrevocable part of life, and the loss of a loved one leaves a permanent void. The poem deals with the idea of accepting this finality. The final line, "For nothing now can ever come to any good," encapsulates the overwhelming sense of finality and the belief that the world has lost its meaning with the death of the beloved. The speaker's commands to put out every one of the stars and pour away the ocean symbolize the emptiness that death can bring. The exaggerated and impossible commands in the final stanza, such as putting out the stars and pouring away the ocean, highlight the speaker's feeling of despair. The world has lost its meaning, and there is no hope for a positive outcome. Tone and emotion. Auden uses melancholic and grieving tone. The line "Stop all the clocks" suggests a desire to freeze time, to suspend the world in a moment of grief. The speaker's urgent plea to cut off the telephone emphasizes a desire for solitude and silence, underlining the depth of their sorrow. Universal grief. The poem's themes of loss and mourning are universal, which is a central reason for the poem's enduring popularity and relevance. It resonates with readers who have experienced the death of a loved one, and it has been widely used in funeral and memorial services. The simplicity and directness of the language make it accessible and relatable to a broad audience. Timelessness. The poem's themes and emotions are not bound by time or culture. Regardless of when or where it is read or recited, the feelings it conveys remain relevant. The loss of a loved one is a timeless human experience. Structure and rhyme. The poem is written in a concise and structured manner. Imagery. The poem employs vivid imagery, from the white doves to muffled drum. These images create a sensory and emotional experience for the reader, evoking a sense of ritual and solemnity. Irony and hyperbole. The poem uses irony and hyperbole to convey the intensity of the speaker's grief. Lines like "pour away the ocean" and "the stars are not wanted now" employ exaggerated language to emphasize the irrelevance of the world in the face of personal loss. The poem is a reflection on the profound impact of death and the sense of emptiness it leaves behind. It conveys the idea that when a loved one is lost, it feels as though time should stop, and the world should acknowledge the enormity of the loss by halting its normal activities. The poem captures the raw, intense emotions associated with mourning and the desire for the world to recognize the significance of the departed individual. Thanks for watching. If you like my video, then like, comment, and share. Don't forget to subscribe